Hi, my name is Amy. Thank you very much for watching, and let's make some bad financial decisions together. This is for entertainment purposes only, so if you're entertained, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. So, today I'd like to talk about our road to wealth and how we get there, because I've been thinking about it lately. Mostly because I've been watching some of those Dave Ramsey videos on YouTube, and I never actually looked into like what his roadmap is and everything, but I keep hearing the general idea is, you make a budget, get out of debt, you have an emergency fund, and then you invest. And I keep thinking, wow, I did not do that in order at all, at least recently. And our brains are very powerful and they can do very well for us. But sometimes our thought process, like we are our own worst enemies. We make excuses for ourselves. We say, oh, this is okay, that's okay. And then we logic ourselves into situations and it makes us even worse off financially. So a lot of the road to wealth is just being mindful and being very deliberate about what you're doing. And I actually disagree that the first step is to make a budget. The first step is to track. Track your habits, track the receipts. I like using my credit cards, not in the sense of carrying over a balance, but I use my credit cards and I pay them my statement in full, except for these two 0% interest credit cards that I have right now, which I use to pay for my generator, and I paid for the AC unit, and that's an entirely different story, but those I have a payment plan to get back on track. But in general, since I've had credit cards from the beginning, we set those to auto pay, statement in full. But the reason why I love credit cards is because receipts are so easy to lose, and then you don't know what you've spent. It's hard to track when you have no idea what you've been spending. But once you are tracking and you start paying attention to it, I'm this way with like food diaries too. I look at it, and even without going on an official diet plan or budget, I can say, ooh, yeah, no, I'm spending a lot of money on this. Can we find an alternative? Because I don't want to deprive myself of things while I'm trying to become wealthy. I want to make sure that my life is sustainable within my goals. So I think people are too busy to get into their budget, and it's easy to set a budget of what you think should be acceptable to spend in each category. But if you're not basing it off of what your actual habits are, then it's not going to be sustainable and you're going to wind up basically cheating. But, and budgets, like there's different kind of budgeting, because when you're lower income and you actually just don't have enough money and you're shuffling things around, that kind of budgeting is way different than like, and there's also short-term budgeting this week, this month, but I like doing tracking and then ideation about what do I want my future to look like, because I want to make sure that my present self, who is doing my monthly budget, that what I'm doing is going to help tenure from myself person. So the first step is to track. The second step is to have an idea of where you want your future to go. And then the next step is budgeting. The thing that I disagree with now that I know about high income ETFs is having an emergency fund and also dropping literally everything to pay off debt. And the reason why I'm not really into an emergency fund that is in a high yield savings account is because with high income ETFs, I'm averaging like a 70% yield across all of the ETFs I'm in. But in a high yield savings account, I'm earning like 4%. Well, if you're making 4% per year on it, it doesn't make sense to keep that in the bank when you have a car loan that's 25% interest, or a credit card that's 30% interest, or personal loan like I have that's 15%. So when you're only making 4% of APR, that's just really not worth keeping that money around. You may as well pay off your debt. But I'm earning more money. Like, my distributions are bigger with the amount of money that I have than what I owe as a minimum payment for the loans. And I also have a job. So I think a part of paying off debt, well, first of all, it's about the discipline, because like, if you put down extra payments and then, or you transfer to a personal loan, like, it's not like you have extra money that you can spend on things that are not investing or paying down more debt. It just frees you up so that you can use more money towards your debt. So, anyways, I just think that for me, having my distributions from my high income ETF, being able to meet all of my minimum payments on everything, even if I lose my job, that is more important to me than paying off the 15% interest, which that is a guaranteed 15% return on investment when I pay extra and I pay on the principal. So what I'm probably going to wind up doing for me is a 60-40. So 60% of my portfolio is going to be high income ETFs. I reinvest it, and 40% I will take out and I will pay off that credit card, all those credit cards, my personal loan, and then I'll look to see if anything else is bothering me. I think I'll tackle my mortgage after I tackle the personal, well, actually, after the credit cards, the well that's being installed right now, I agreed with my dad 2 years ago that I would pay for half of it. So that's at least $10,000 I owe. So credit cards, my dad, because my dad's paying in full and then paying my dad back. Then the personal loan. And I asked my dad if he would let me wait until after I paid off my credit cards, which is nice of him. But it just means that I need to, like, it's only like $20,000. So I need to do that as soon as possible. Start paying my dad back, get the personal loan. I think he would wait until after I got my personal loan out of the way too, but like, he doesn't need to be putting up money for me. I make enough money that I should be able to pay this stuff off. And it's honestly just another $10,000. So we'll pay my dad back for the well. Then we'll go into the personal loan. And then after that, my trailer mortgage, because after 15%, my highest interest rate is 8.75% for the trailer. And then once that's done, my truck doesn't actually bother me that much, but that's at 7%. And then I have my 401k loans, which especially don't bother me because it wasn't a large amount that I had in those 401ks. And when I'm done with them, I'll probably just roll them over into my Robinhood account and basically put that into more high income ETFs, which at some point I do need to invest more in like S&P 500 broad indexes in my retirement account. That way, even though I'm messing around with a lot of things right now, I would actually like to have a really good nest egg when I'm of retirement age, even if I've been retired since, 2 years in the future from right now. So in 2027. So anyways, I think as long as you have the discipline already, like, this is a practice in discipline, but there's always a balance. because people are only capable of being extremely, extremely frugal and disciplined for so long, and then they crack, and it's basically like binge eating, except with your finances. So giving yourself, like, prioritizing, it's not a cheat day, it's not cheating your budget, it's actually just having your budget be realistic so that you can have the things that you enjoy while you're paying down your debt. And I do think that one of the steps after budgeting is actually just making sure you actually have minimized your expenses. Go through what you have for subscriptions, go through your car insurance and your house insurance, and just make sure that everything you're paying out to things is the cheapest that you can, which is why I refinanced my truck, because it was $900 a month for my truck, and then I refinanced it, and now it's like $530 per month, which is way more doable on my salary. Anyways, thank you for letting me ramble, because I'm still not feeling really well and I'm really tired, so I'm gonna go to bed really early. But I think that maybe someday I'll bring this up again and have more concrete steps for what I think should be your steps to get wealthy, maybe once I am wealthy. But I think that getting into the habit of investing and getting into the habit of spending money and enjoying yourself within your means is just as important as paying off your loans. Although I've never been in a situation where I have like a 200% interest loan or anything like super high interest. So if it is bothering you and it keeps you up at night and it's stressful for you, then yes, just pay off your loans, get your emergency fund, then start investing. But for me, what's right for me at the moment is to have income from my high income ETFs that will allow me to meet my minimum obligations every month in lieu of having an emergency fund, and then using the excess money from the income of my job to pay off all of my loans. And then the distributions also take 40% out and use that as extra to pay off of my loans early. So anyways, what are your steps that you are using? And I'll talk to you later. Bye.